everybody. So wanted to just share a little with you about some grief as a funeral director and things that I have going on. I've shared with you in a video about losing my niece when she was murdered and talked about how as a funeral director, it's really hard to turn off funeral director mode. When there's a loss, it is, I think, my coping mechanism and many funeral directors that you go into funeral director mode. You worry about the funeral itself. You don't allow the whole loss to maybe enter you at one time. And I feel like because of that, there was a huge delay grief for me. And it's been kind of the same way with other family members and friends too, that I feel like I turn on the funeral director mode to keep me from feeling some of those initial emotions and really getting wrapped up in the loss like I should be doing, but I keep myself from doing it. And I don't even do it on purpose, but I think that's just how I cope with a loss. Well, right now, I'm going through a loss of my own. I'm going through a divorce right now, which has been going on for a few months. And if you guys go back, I'm betting you can find some of the videos where it initially started, because I think you can, it's very reflected in my face and in some of the things. So I think during this last year, we have all had some sort of a loss or even an anticipatory grief where we were planning for something and then we lost it because it wasn't going to be allowed to happen with Corona and with restrictions and just keeping ourselves safe or someone not allowing us to do something. So we all experienced some form of a grief last year, going through one phase or another, whether we were just angry, whether we were in denial that it was really not going to happen. And grief can manifest for many different things. It can be even if you total your car, it can happen because we get attached to things and people, and it's sad when they're gone. And it's sad when a relationship ends, even if it's a breakup or if it's a divorce or if it's getting fired from your work and you don't see your work people every day. That was a relationship ends, that even if the people are still living, you may not talk to them or see them really anymore, and you go through grief. And it's okay to feel all these different emotions. So I couldn't, for this divorce, brace myself with the funeral director mode. It wasn't going to happen. And I think for the first time, I've really gone through some major grief moments in the heat of it. And I think what I found is so tricky about it is that I may not be thinking about it. I may be completely doing something else, but subconsciously and somewhere inside my body, it jumps out. And I might be buying a spaghetti sauce at the grocery store and I just get teary-eyed and get overtaken and want to sit down and just cry. And I really don't care what anybody thinks in that moment. Which I think is good to remember, that there's people walking around you and you don't know what they're carrying with them every day. You don't know what pain they might have. You don't know what anger, what loss, anything. So remember that when it comes to your everyday life. Now, another thing I have found is keeping myself busy has been the best thing. The first weeks I was really in shock, and then I'd go in and out of anger and sadness and this defense mechanism where I was going to be completely fine and nothing was going to change my world, and I was going to just keep on the same paths. And I realized, well, I can't stay on the same path. I'm being sassy to my girls. I'm taking things out on people that don't deserve it. I'm not supporting people like I should as a friend and as a family member. You get selfish in grief, and that's okay. But I found that just kind of retreating a little bit, I didn't feel like I was disappointing others, and I could kind of work my way through some things, but I kept myself busy. I started going to the gym more and started doing some little things that just kind of helped time pass. And it was funny because last night I looked back and I was like, oh my gosh, it's been 5 months almost. And I don't know where those 5 months went. Because if you would have asked me in those beginning weeks, I don't think I would have been able to get through 1 month. But time passes. because life moves on. No matter what loss we've had, life keeps going. That's the beauty and the downfall of it, is that life doesn't allow us to stop in our grief. We have to keep moving, and we have to forge a new path for ourselves, even if we don't want to. But in order to keep living, we have to move forward. And I think that I've never connected with grief as much as during this experience, and seeing, without my buffer zone of being a funeral director, what loss and emotions really can feel like. It's been rough. If you go back, so within 24 hours of all of it starting, I was filming a 2-minute video because I had to. And I was being interviewed by a New York Times writer, and I was doing all this stuff, and I don't know how I got through those moments. And I think that was the numbness of getting through the beginning, the numbness of when you've had a loss, getting through the funeral, getting through all that initial. And I hear people say, oh, there's closure at the funeral, but you haven't even ripped the Band-Aid off at that point. You're just in the initial triage, trauma phase, and you haven't even begun into the bad part and into kind of the loss in your life part. So there's just so many layers to this, but I wanted to share with you a little of what I've been going through, because you're in it with me. And I think that since we're in grief month and we're talking a lot about grief and emotions and things, that it is good to be honest and really talk about where we're at in our own personal journeys. I know many of you have had losses. So share with me, drop in the comments below, tell me what you're going through. What emotion or grief stage did you feel the most stuck in a loss? And it doesn't have to be a death, because we all experience losses. Even graduating and leaving school that you've been in for so long. That's a grief stage, because you're in a new phase of life, and you have to let go of what was before. So there's all these levels and varying levels of grief that people can go through. So tell me about yours. Share a little with me. Thank you for your support and being with me on this journey. I don't need any divorce advice, but thank you for that. We don't need to disparage anybody in the situation, so don't do that either. But I appreciate you guys, and we'll keep you posted along the way, I'm sure. Bye.